right, welcome to another episode of Medicine Mondays. If you've been overwhelmed by this healthcare system, underappreciated by this healthcare system, and you just been looking for a voice reason, guess what? You done found them. I am yours truly, Dr. Pierre, your favorite board certified internist. And I have a special guest, and I probably say that I have a special guest every time I have a guest, but this is a special guest. This is actually family. Niesia Garza is here. Her, again, for my Medicine Monday watchers, Lunch and Learn podcast listeners, I already know y'all don't like reading description, but please go to the description. Her bio is all up in there. Her information will be all up in there. Please go to the description. But I always start out to say, first of all, thank you for joining this week on Medicine Mondays.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I don't know. I appreciate trust me. Not as excited as me. I think I've been trying to get you on the show for a good little bit. I said, hey, Aisha, we need you on here. We need you on here. We need folks to know that level of expertise is there. We need you, and we finally done corralled you here. So again, I appreciate you taking the time out to join us on this show, right? So who is Niesia Garza, right? For those who may not know, this is the first time coming across my show and happen to see you. Who is Niesia Garza?
Okay, so Niesia Garza is a licensed clinical social worker and the CEO and owner of Daniel's Harbor Therapy Center. I am a compassionate bereavement provider. So I specialize in trauma and grief. And my practice has been open since 2019 in Navarre, Florida.
So let's I want to talk about that, right? Because obviously, again, and I know you, we love you, right? But I want to talk about just kind of this topic of grief, because it is, even as a primary care physician, and I do hospital medicine, I think even for us, right, as doctors, right, it's one of the toughest discussions we have to have with our patients.
Yes.
But you say, you know what, I'm gonna not only be able to have this tough conversation, but I'm going all in on the topic in general. So what was it just about just kind of the centering of grief and the discussion of it that said, you know what, like this is where I need to focus on?
Well, in regards to my personal journey, having to deal with grief. So the reason for Daniel's Harbor is in honor and in memory of my son, Daniel Garza. He died from a rare blood disorder at the age of 2.5. So us having to go through that process, and we had great support, great caseworkers. So I just wanted to be able to provide and give others the same space that I was provided, and to normalize and let them know that, unexpected grief is not something that you just get over. So the unexpected deaths, so it's something that I just want to help other families, and for them not to feel like there's something wrong with them or they're crazy because they're grieving. So, yes.
And it's so interesting, especially with just this aspect of when it hits you personally, because I think a lot of times when we see others dealing with grief, we have this certain mindset that, oh, well, they should just do this and that, or they should just, we've heard the term get over it. Like they like get past it. Like we've heard these terms, and a lot of times it doesn't really resonate until like we're on the side and folks are telling us what we should be doing and how we should be responding to it. So I definitely commend you, because again, it takes a different mindset to say, not only am I going to educate and help these families deal with it, and the reason why is because I had to deal with it myself.
Yes, exactly. So yes, so I want to be able to provide that space for the families, for them to just know that they have a space to grieve and not be judged or, ridiculed or anything like that because they're grieving. It's a new normal. You're adjusting to a whole new life that you didn't ask for. So yeah.
Why do you think, just in the general public, and mind you, again, I tell people all the time, I'm a physician. I got 10, they talk about the 10,000 hour rule. I got probably 20,000 hours of dealing with, patients who are healthy and patients who are not so healthy. And a lot of my colleagues have the same aspect. So I tell patients, I'm one, I understand what it means to have to work and deal with families who are grieving. But even for my colleagues, we find it so difficult to talk about it. Why do you think it is? Like, what is it about this aspect of grief that just gets so many people, just frightened, even those of the highest profession?
Yes. And I think it's also, like you said, it's dealing with our own feelings, right? So, it's that uncomfortableness of, okay, do I say the right thing? What do I say? How do I say it? What do I don't know what to do, right? So with their being uncomfortable, it's just projecting onto, like, ooh, I better stay away from that topic, or ooh, I better avoid this family, ooh, I better, so it's just because of our uncomfortable, us being uncomfortable with it and our own dealings with it. Mm-hmm.
And I love it because especially because the way you flipped it and said, it's not as if the conversation or the topic is something difficult to discuss. Is the fact that for many people, we internalize our inefficiency around that topic. And because we internalize it, it's one of those topics where we're like, you know what? That ain't me. I want no parts of that. Again, I still got physician colleagues who don't go to certain specialties because they did not want to have to face patients, face families when that discussion comes about, which, and again, obviously I don't want to say I'm numb to it, but sometimes I am. I feel like I am. Sometimes I feel like because I've dealt with so much, especially, we're recording this, during this pandemic, and stuff we've seen during this pandemic, it's one of those things where we almost become hardened to the fact that, like, what, I don't want to let those feelings, whatever those feelings are for other people, I don't want to let those feelings in. So as long as I keep this wall, I'm able to, quote unquote, do my job.
Yes, exactly. Like you said, separating it, right? But it's that part of knowing that compassion, right? And sometimes it's not, we don't even have to say anything. It's just being present. We feel like we got to say something, but the only thing that's going to make this person feel better if their loved one is back here with them.
Wow.
So it's not finding what to say or the right words to say, just being present, allowing them to, talk, cry, whatever. Just the presence alone is enough.
I always wonder, especially for my professionals who go into this specialization, which of whatever field they in, when they decide, hey, like for you, right? Like, I'm going to do grief. Like, grief is going to be my thing. What is the type of mindset you need to have as a professional, as a one who is going to be saying, you know what, I'm going to be the expert in this thing right here, this topic that it's so difficult. We can't even say the thing. It's grief, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be the expert in grief, and I want people to know about it. What is that mindset like? And how was that training to get to this point?
So the mindset is just knowing I want to go out there and normalize it because it's a taboo, right? It's society of thinking that, a grief, you got this time limit, you got it, they give you so many days to grieve and not understanding. So I want to come out there and educate and knowing that, hey, this is a journey and everybody's journey is different, so no two journey is the same. Even, like me and my husband dealing with the death of our son, but we still had two different journeys. Our journeys were not alike. We were not, it was just he was going through his and I was going through mine, but neither one of them are wrong. So it's like people think we should be grieving a certain way or having a certain time to grieve, and that's not what it's about. It's just you're supposed to be sad. People like okay, it's been 2 weeks, okay, and
Right.
and yeah, it's 2 weeks. Exactly. You're supposed to be sad. You're not depressed. You're sad and you're supposed to be sad, but feel like where people think they're wallowing in it, right? You're not wallowing.
Ooh, that's a bar right there.
Especially within our communities, like, oh, don't wallow, or you're still down. Yeah, I am down, this wasn't.
And it's okay. And that's not a bad thing. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
And I like how you touched on the fact that we have to also separate the fact that it's not, I'm not depressed, I'm just grieving.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Just some instances where we can say I can be experiencing what I'm experiencing right here, but not necessarily be depressed in that sense.
Yes, and that's because when families or people go to the doctors, sorry.
Hey, I tell people all the time, one thing we do, doctors, we do a lot of things well. Yes. But the thing that we probably consistently don't do well is addressing, again, I blame our training, I blame lots of things. Yeah. It is addressing just the mental health aspect of care. Yes. And what that entails. Mm-hmm. And because we don't do a good job, we either push it to the side or downplay it because we don't want, like you said, we don't want to show our cards on the table that we might not be. So I'm okay.
Yeah, okay. Because they go, because they go in and think that something's wrong, and automatic, the first thing is medication. So that's why people are thinking that it's depression.
Talk to.
Because it's, they're, well, let me give you this. Let me give you this. No, I'm crying because I'm supposed to be, I'm sad. I'm crying at the spur of the moment because grieve, it's like when you're dealing with grief, it's like you find out that you really don't have control. Okay. So for those people who like to have control and grief takes over, because you never know when it's going to hit you. Right. So when it's unexpected, you could be going and having a great day and then boom, it hits you just right there. And if you're a person who likes to, okay, I'm in control of my emotions, I'm in control of my feelings. But when grief is going to take over. So people feel like, okay, well, something has to be wrong, because before I could, I
could quote manage. Or now, is it considered a loss of control if grief creeps in terms of emotions? Would you consider it like, oh, I'm not controlling my emotions if I'm grieving?
No, it's you're grieving. It's like certain things can trigger, it's like we don't realize there are little certain things that can hit us and we're not even really paying attention to it. I hate I always tell my clients, let's take it second by second. Okay. And we don't want to do it day by day, not minute by minute, second by second, because you just don't know at the next second your grief could hit you. So it's like, okay, let's sit in it, own it, and feel it, because the more we try to hide it or suppress it, then that's when it takes control over us. Our emotions take control over us, because now it's like, hey, where am I go? Where am I go? We're so filled up or built up with all these emotions that eventually the body says,
drop, big hammer drop on you, and people and then people give you that look like, not in front of everybody.
Exactly. Like you got three heads and then you're telling yourself, please stop, please stop, please stop. But you can't stop because your body's like, we have to release it. I know I was in a training and I'll never forget the saying was, what we suppress, we eventually express. So I was like, I like that saying.
I love that.
Exactly. So yeah. So it's just, us knowing that it's okay. It's okay not to be okay.
I remember because my father passed away when I was going from first year medical student to second year medical student. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was like different phases that I had to kind of go through because I was the oldest, at least here in the country. I was the oldest. Mm-hmm. So immediately I kind of had to go into, all right, I got to handle things role. I got to go into business role because affairs needed to occur. And so I'm handling that. Yeah. And I remember my wife was there too. And it wasn't literally until the viewing that it just like, boom, like knocked me across my face. Tears are pouring. It was just, I would just have to be sitting there. And so I 100% agree with what you mean, where a lot of times, yeah, you could try to like bury it and play cool, but when it's coming, when it hits you, when that one song plays, right? When you see that car that like, oh man, he used to drive that. Like when that thing happens, like you just gotta let it flow, right? In fact, you trying to fight it makes it even worse. Don't even.
Exactly. It does. It starts to weigh you down. That's when things are happening, because when you fight it and you continue to fight it, it's going to start weighing you down, because you are just pretending like nothing is happening, when you're grieving. And it's like, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to be mad, sad, angry, frustrated, it's all those things, so yeah.
And in your journey, you talk about this aspect of being client-centered and compassionate and empathetic and non-judgmental. Yes. Now, was that from a base and foundation of being on the other side, where you weren't, the center of where you needed to be, where you felt like you were judged, or you felt like the compassion was like, because whenever I see that, I'm, y'all know Medicine Mondays, I watch everything, I read everything, and I try to turn, because I'm an internist, I hate it, but this is how we do it. So when I see someone like, because that's in their bio, y'all, for those who wonder. When I see that, I was like, oh, I wonder if the reason why she does that was because, you know what, when she was in that position of need, like none of that was there.
Yes. And the funny thing about it was, I really didn't even put my own connection to it until this conference I was at. And the lady was like, because one of my stats is like, judgment withheld and emotional connection is created. And so she was like, is that because you felt judged? I said, well, yeah. Yes. So it's definitely is, not having the space, or people trying to rush me through my grief, because it's uncomfortable for them. Right. So they want to rush me through it, and instead of just letting me be, or
because the quicker you get through it, then the more comfortable they are around. Like, oh man, I can't be around Aisha right now, man. She's doing that thing again.
Hello, exactly. And that's exactly what people would say. You said it right on the nose. It's like, there she go again. Like, yeah, that's where I go. Or, I feel like I could write a book of the things that people should not say to people who are grieving. Okay.
Ooh, it's like, hey, that's it. That's an idea, y'all. That's an idea. In fact, we'll put Niesia to the fire. We need Niesia to write this book on what not to say to people who are grieving. I think that's we got the title. So we'll like when we turn this recording off, I'll talk to him more. Like, expect a book like that to come out.
Okay.
For those who go through this, oh, get over it. It's been too long. Where do you think these things come from? Like, I always question, like, where do y'all get like that there should be a time limit? Where do y'all get that, like, I should already be over this? Or where do y'all get I shouldn't be as emotional? Like, where do you think people are getting these standards that clearly aren't set in reality?
Yes. And I think, society, because society tries to put the so many days you get off, right? So you got.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So
see, I didn't even piece that together, but now that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So that part of it, and also it's our upbringing, because within the Black community, it's that spirituality part of it, right? So
hey, we gotta have that.
So if you're not, you should be okay, because God has a plan. Okay, understand, but I'm still human.
Yes.
I'm flesh.
Yes.
Okay. But I understand, but I don't mean I have to like that plan. Okay. Or be okay with that plan. And does not mean.
And a lot of times the plan he deals with us, we're like, man, God, like, why I gotta go through that? Like,
why you treat me?
Like I appreciate you. I appreciate you, seeing the strength in me, but man.
Hello.
Mm.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that I don't have faith. It just means I am flesh. And man, losing a child is like, that's not something I can come back from.
Right.
That's a part of me that's missing, that's always going to be missing. I hate the quote, time heal all wounds. That one bothers me to my core. Because it doesn't, it becomes bearable. You learn to walk with your grief. It doesn't, I'm not healed. No, it's just I learned to walk with it, and it's becoming bearable. But a part of me always a part of me died the day my son died. That Niesia, she no longer exists.
Yep.
She's gone. So now I have to deal with living without my son and trying to figure out who I am now.
As a new person. And I love that you said that, because it shows a level of vulnerability, but it shows what really happens, right? It's when you have an instance where you have this loss, and that, like, all right, like, I have to kind of go through the next day, but like, just because I went through the next day doesn't mean I'm actually okay.
Exactly.
Like, just because I made it to next week doesn't mean I'm actually okay. I'm not that person I was a week ago. And the reality of understanding I'm never gonna be that person I was a week ago is something that I think is extremely real for a lot of people. And so that's why I love people like you, right? Who say, you know what, I want to tackle I just want to tackle this. This is the conversation. This aspect of grief is something that we have to make just as common as us talking about what coffee we want, right? We have to make it just as common as we talk about what car we want to drive, right? Because it happens. Exactly. I tell people all the time, especially in a hospital, you come in a hospital, you are not guaranteed to leave. Yeah. Like that is it's not, oh, I'm just going to hospital. No, like I've had patients who went in because they thought they were constipated. They did not go home. Wow. Right. I've had patients who went in because they felt a little short of breath. They did not go home. Yes. Right? I've had patients who continually have their life changes, their family's lives change sometimes in an instant. Yes. And to assume that, again, you hit it big on that whole bereavement time frame. Like, that's just crazy to me. Like, to think that, like, oh, that's all they need to go and get back to who they were before the bereavement. It's just wild to me that we've gotten to that point where we need people like Niesia to say, like, hey, y'all, like, let's stop this. Like, y'all are doing too much right now.
Exactly. They are, like you said, it's just giving the people, the time that they need. When they try to cut it, or people feel, I get clients that feel like, okay, I got to rush. Like, they feel like they got to rush through the process. So like, no, you can't rush through it, because the people around you want you to be okay, better. No, I'm no longer that person. This is my journey, and I have to go through that journey, versus, people always feeling like they got to be rushed, or, oh, I can't be doing this anymore, or I can't be feeling like this. And it's like, why not? Or when you got people saying, like, when you're grieving, it's like, man, I don't want to be here. And then automatically, oh, okay, well, this person is, we need to admit them. It's like, oh, like, no, they're feeling that because it's like their loved one is gone. Yep. Especially when it's the unexpected. When that's unexpected, it's a whole different ball game. We understand the natural causes of death, right? But when it's unexpected, and you just like, whoa, unexpected death is, like, it's not just, like losing, like your dad. That's unexpected. That was an unexpected death. So that's that grief is there, and it's real. And so people just assume that it's just supposed to be like, okay, well, next day.
Right. There you go. Time to go to work. Hey, you got class tomorrow. Hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Yeah, just like the bounce back, and this aspect of bouncing back just is a different fallacy. right? Like there is no bouncing back. And I think you said it best, right? It's like, what is my new normal that like now I'm going to experience? What is the thing that now I have to kind of deal with, cope with, to continue to move forward?
Exactly. Yes. And then you got, like especially in family, kids, right? So got small kids. So now not only am I having to figure out what I'm going through, I got to be able to explain it to my children, right? Like, okay, well, hey, what happened? How can I explain it when I don't even know?
Mm.
You know? So it's like, how can I truly explain something to them to where I don't even know what truly happened? So it's like taking that into consideration too. They you're especially when they're little or even older, it's still, I think it doesn't, any parent that loses a child, no matter how old the child is, it's
Okay.
like, yeah.
And I think it's and you probably said, you obviously, obviously when I talked to my little brother and sister, they were much younger, right, when my dad passed away.
Yeah.
So I'm now having to explain like the feelings that they experience now, because they weren't even old enough to process what was going on. For them, it was just a whole bunch of people in the house.
Yes.
And dad's not coming home.
Exactly. Yes.
And
Yes.
and now that when we get older, because on his birthdays, we typically go to his cemetery, right?
Yeah.
And she's asking questions, right? She's like,
Mhm.
how was he like? Because there's a void that she doesn't even realize is gone until she kind of maturates into it.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's exactly right. Every year, like you said, especially when like they get older, it's like their experience is whole new grief now. Because it's like, okay, whoa, now I have more questions. So it's something as they get older that they're dealing with continually. Yes. So yes. So that's understandable.
For in your case, right? Before we get you out of here, first of all, you've been absolutely amazing, phenomenal.
Thank you.
Who are the people you typically work with, right? Especially because when we talk about grief, and we talk about the fact that everyone experiences it, there's not a person alive who hasn't had to deal with it either directly or indirectly, one way, shape, or form. Who are the people you typically work with? Again, I got my thesis, right? Because I always say, especially in medicine, when it comes to the men, it's hard for me to get them in my office sometimes, unless a family's like pushing them. So I always ask, especially when we talk about this aspect, like, is it female dominated? Is it male? Like who is the majority of clients you're seeing? And if you do see on the average, like, is there like stark differences with how women experience it and how men experience it?
Yes, dominantly is mostly women and children. Okay, I've seen a couple of men, but and there is just definitely a big difference. Okay, especially with the man, because they're coming in feeling like they can't, like they have to have it together, right? I can't break down. No, it ain't bothering me. Okay, ain't nothing going on, because they feel like they're that, not unable to be vulnerable, right? Because society has deemed that men, if you show emotions or you cry a little bit, whew, your man card, you're done. You're no longer a man. So trying to create the space and say, hey, this is your space, allow yourself to grieve, and it's okay to grieve. Some may get there and some just be like, okay, no, I'm good. I don't need this no more. But a lot of times it's the moms, the moms that I'm getting, the women that are kind of coming in, or the wives, or and they're, once again, everything is rushed for them, right? So it's constant because somebody's telling them, you're not better.
Yeah, get over it. Like,
yeah, get over it, and then with the kids, with them being little or younger, and so it's really just kind of being there for them too, and allowing them, because sometimes we have to look past the behavior to see what's really going on. But sometimes people don't want to see, beyond the behavior, So it's like, okay, but what's truly going on with this kid,
Especially because it's not going to manifest the same.
Exactly.
It's not going to, in medicine, we call it presentation, right? It's not going to be the textbook presentation that you done read about, right? You got a person sitting across from you, or they may be acting out, right? Or they may be, too high, too low, or whatever the two is, right? In whatever standard you want to put them in a box. And because they're acting that way, they're different. It's affecting me. It's bothering me. Go find some help so you can be like, quote unquote, me. So you can be, quote unquote, normal, which, obviously is not a, it's all about who wants to be the standard.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. So it's, even for kids, it's really kind of, because especially like you said, them not having the words to express it. We, even as adults, sometimes don't have the words to express it.
Nope.
So we can't imagine, these 10-year-olds or not, having if we don't have the words as adults, we can't be expecting them to just be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm kind of grieving right now.
Right.
They don't have those words, so they're going to act out, so it's us looking beyond what they're presenting.
Love it. Okay. Before we let you go, is there anything that Niesia is, working on, any goals and plans for her in the future? And then obviously we want to make sure we give you details, especially with the Daniels Harbor. And, if people want to reach out to you, want to follow you, and so is there anything that we can expect to see from Niesia Garza in the near future? We already in Lunch Learn community, we're going to put her to the fire, because like that book idea she gave, definitely something, because again, y'all are foul with some of the statements y'all are telling these people who are grieving. So we need someone to educate y'all on some of the stuff y'all shouldn't be doing. So we don't get that done. But is anything, that you got planned, or just your goals, right? Because when you decide that this is a journey that I want to go to, right? I want to help people understand that, yes, it's okay to have a new normal. In fact, trying to be that old you before the event that it happened, that is a dead end, right? Exactly. It just is, right? So is there any goals that you have in the future for yourself, with your business, or just kind of how you want to go about it?
Well, I do the future goals is, kind of, since this is my first, podcast, so I'm kind of getting myself out there. So I really want to, go around educating people about, normalizing grief, allowing people to have that space and not trying to be rushed through their grief. So I do want to be out there talking. I never thought I would say that, but I want to be out there talking to people. And I am thinking about working on like a webinar of where helping parents and their teens, communicate, kind of helping with that, bridging the gap with that.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing. Because again, it's one of those things where, and again, I think obviously I'm biased, right? So every time, right, I'm thinking about an issue, I'm like, all right, man, I wonder how the men, especially the Black men, right? I wonder how they're affected by that. And I could just tell it's not gonna be the woe is me and melancholy aspect. It's gonna be either ain't nothing wrong with me, or the extreme level of acting out. That again, right? Like I say acting out because I'm trying to center how they should be responding. Right. So even now I think about it, like as I'm talking, right? Like look at the epiphany hit me, right? Now that I'm talking, I'm like, well, are they really acting out, or that's just how they're going to, expound upon their grief? Like that's how it's gonna look in them, right? So that, like, I love it, right? Again, this is why I love having experts on the show, right? Because like Lunch Learn community, I tell people all the time, I be learning just as much, right? I be taking in, I'm like, okay, mental note. So I'm learning together. So I apologize, y'all don't be acting out. That's just the grief. That's just the grief talking.
Yes, exactly. Like you said, yes. And that's what it is, because our walks are different and everybody grieves differently. I always say there's never a right or wrong way to grieve. Now there's unhealthy ways and healthy ways, but not a right or wrong way to grieve.
And talk about Daniel's hard work, and is this something where do you do online coaching and counseling, or is it just kind of local? How, if people want to follow you and
I do
more information?
Yes, I do provide therapy, telehealth, therapy online, and also brick and mortar. So yes.
Amazing. And again, Medicine Money Watchers, Lunch Learn Community, her information will be in the description. Website will be in the description. Niesia, first of all, again, for your first one, knocked it out the park. I'll tell you that. Like I tell people all the time, if you go listen to my first episode, it was atrocious. So your first one knocks it out the park. And more importantly, I want to just thank you, right? Obviously, I'm biased, right? This is my sister, right? But I just want to thank you for taking on a role, right? Of saying, you know what, I'm going to take on this topic that I know is tough for the majority of people, and I'm going to run with it because I know what it was like when I didn't have an Niesia to take care of me.
Yes.
Right. Like I know, and I don't want another person to have to experience what it's like not to have an Niesia to take care of them during their process as well.
Yes. And that is so true. And I thank you for allowing me to come on your show to talk about that. So, and thank you for being very gracious and, and took it easy with me.
All right. See you guys next week.
Okay. Thank you.